47% of Americans approving of him, similar to the 45% after his first inauguration. Now, for comparison, Joe Biden entered office with a 57% approval rating in this same poll. Because contrary to what Trump and MAGA are saying, neither he nor his policies are popular. So how did he win the White House, and why are Republicans in control of the House and Senate too? Well, people dislike the Democrats even more. A recent Wall Street Journal poll showed 60% of Americans view the party unfavorably. In November, Democrats lost ground with nearly every demographic group, including minorities, women, low-income voters, and those without college degrees. It's in this political wilderness that Democrats gathered this weekend and elected a new DNC chairman in Ken Martin. Martin is the longtime leader of the state Democratic Party in Minnesota, and he defeated Wisconsin Democratic Party chairman Ben Wickler. Even though Wickler had the support of Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and Hakeem Jeffries. Now, Martin takes over a political party in need of new leadership and, quite honestly, a new strategy. We are in a time when Americans badly need a functioning opposition party to push back against this madness that we're seeing from Elon Musk and Donald Trump. But it's not just the average person asking Democrats to put up more of a fight. The New York Times reported on a tense call this week, 6 Democratic governors pressed Chuck Schumer to be more aggressive in fighting back against Trump's agenda. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz was on the call, and he argued that Democrats needed to be more visible on television, presenting an alternative vision of governing, not just complaining about what Mr. Trump is doing. That's good advice. Don't just say what you're against. Lay out the vision for what you're actually for. Now, but before the party can lay out a vision of what they are for, they need to actually figure out what that is. Last week, when the Trump administration was making a big show out of deporting undocumented immigrants, Democratic Senator Chris Murphy bragged that in the first week, Trump removed 7,300 people. On average, Biden was removing 15,000 a week. Under Biden, 72% of ICE arrests were criminal. Under Trump, it's dropped to around 50%. Trump is removing less people and less criminals. So what's the Democratic position here? Are they confronting Trump because they think he's pushing racist and fascist immigration policies? Or are they confronting Trump because they think that Democrats are better at executing those policies? But that's not the only contradiction within the Democratic Party. Democrats are rightfully railing against oligarchy, a small group of extremely wealthy people ruling the country with its own interests in mind. But it's hard to attack the Republicans for being run by oligarchs if Democrats are as well. At a DNC forum last month, Ken Martin was asked about this exact idea and if Democrats should still take big money from billionaires.
There are a lot of good billionaires out there that have been with Democrats who share our values, and we will take their money, but we're not taking money from those bad billionaires.
While Democrats can't unilaterally disarm on fundraising, this billionaire issues is among many lingering questions that await Democrats. And they better start coming up with answers fast, because this country is currently under attack from within. Ken Martin wasn't the only leader elected by DNC members this weekend. Pennsylvania State Representative and a good friend of this show, Malcolm Kenyatta, was elected as one of the party's vice chairs. He joins me now. It's great to see you again, Representative. Thank you for making time for us. I know it's been a busy weekend for you. Let's talk about some of the issues first. Give me a sense of how you feel, how the DNC leadership election went. Where do you come down on this issue of money in politics, trying to fight the oligarchy?
So, Eamon, first of all, it's exciting to be with you. And I will tell you, Democrats left Maryland united because we understand what's at stake in this moment. I know that there are folks who are, spilling a lot of ink talking about the need to, I guess, write an obituary for the Democratic Party. But what you saw at National Harbor was not a funeral for Democrats. What you saw was a revival. You saw a Democratic Party that includes all 50 states and 7 territories talking about what we're going to do to build a party that is ready to win, a party that can expand, a party that can last and has a strategic vision for the future. And you saw that with a quick vote to confirm our new chair, Ken Martin, somebody who has spent a lifetime electing Democrats up and down the ballot, a lifetime understanding the needs of state parties as the just past chair of ASDC, which is the chair chair of all of our state parties, somebody who understands that in this moment, we can't spend every single day thinking about the guy in the White House. There are races that we have to win down ballot. And it was one of the reasons I got into this race. If we want to win nationally, it's going to start with investing and winning locally. And I think Democrats are doing that. We just saw it in Iowa last week.
Let me ask you about what is happening right now with this administration and the voice of the Democrats, generally speaking, the leadership of the Democratic Party. NBC News is confirming that the temporary protected status of hundreds of thousands of Venezuelans living in the U.S. will be formally revoked by the Trump administration tomorrow, with a 60-day period to end their status. After a year of taking a more conservative line on immigration and the border, how do you think Democrats should handle this now going forward?
Listen, one of the things that Democrats have to do is to take control of Congress. I think we're in a position where you just saw in this last election, Democrats actually netted a seat in the House. One of the most important things that we can do nationally is make Hakeem Jeffries the next Speaker of the House. But I also think that in this moment, we have to shift our communications paradigm. So much of the conversation around politics in general is politician A says something, politician B says something, and then the story is about that argument. The reality is the policies that are coming out of this administration impact real people in their real lives, impact the very folks that you were talking about, people who were granted temporary status to be here because of the crisis happening in their country, people who are coming here for a better life. One of Donald Trump's biggest donors himself is an immigrant to this country. We have to have a sane policy at the border that keeps our families, safe, that deals with fentanyl, that makes sure we have a fair, humane, legal process. But I think in this moment, the Democratic Party is going to be doing everything we can to not center politicians, but to center people. When Donald Trump did his illegal executive order last week to try to shut down grants and funding coming from the federal government, Eamon, I asked people on my social media to respond to me and talk about what that meant if you weren't able to drop your kid off at Head Start, what it meant if you were worried about your Medicare and Medicaid. And we're going to use the platform of the Democratic Party to lift up those stories. This is not about politician versus politician. This is about one guy in the White House who does not give a damn about what is happening with working people, and working people deserve an opportunity for that story to be heard.
As you probably are very aware, sir, after the election, there was some criticism even within the Democratic Party that the Democratic Party had been focused on identity politics. It's something that the Republicans have obsessed over and tried to paint the Democratic Party as obsessed with, that they are just focused on identity politics, and they spent millions of dollars playing that up among ordinary Americans. Is that a legitimate concern on the left? How do you feel the DNC is addressing this issue going forward?
Listen, I just want folks to understand that the first thing this new administration did when they came in wasn't try to lower the cost of eggs, wasn't to try to make it easier for people who are sick to have security that they can go and get the medical care that they need, wasn't trying to stand up for our veterans or ensure that seniors could stay in their house. One of the first thing they did was pardon violent January 6th insurrectionists. Folks, many of whom have gone on already to commit new crimes or to be rearrested for crimes that they had not yet been prosecuted for. If you look at what happened on what I've called Dr. King's worst birthday ever, look at who was standing behind the guy who's in the White House right now. A cadre of billionaires who were sitting even in front of the cabinet to make it crystal clear who this administration is centering. Ken Martin is in this. The other vice chairs who were elected, our leadership team is in this because many of them have stories just like mine. I grew up in a working poor family in North Philly. Buried both of my parents by the time I was 27 because they didn't have access to the type of health care everybody deserves. Every holiday season, me and my sisters and my brother, we don't have a family home to go back to because we moved multiple times. The Democratic Party gives a damn about families like mine. That's what we're focused on. I refuse to spend the next 4 years somehow apologizing for being a Democrat, somehow buying into this narrative that our best days are behind us. They are not. But I also refuse to spend the next 4 years talking about every crazy thing that comes out of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Democrats did so much better down ballot than, the 1.3% or whatever it was difference that we saw at the top of the ticket. And I think it's going to be incumbent on us to tell those stories. My sister said something that I'll never forget, that Donald Trump lies with more confidence than Democrats tell the truth. And we are going to tell the truth. We are the party of working people and working families, and we're going to spend every single day reminding the American people of just that. And I'm excited to get to work under the leadership of our new chair.
And let me ask you again really quickly about just foreign policy, and not to relitigate the past in the election, but looking forward. There was a YouGov poll that came out after the election that showed this: Kamala Harris paid the price for not breaking with Biden on Gaza. 29% of non-voters who supported Biden in 2020 said U.S. support for the genocide was the top reason they sat out the 2024 election. Looking forward, is the Democratic Party, and certainly under the leadership of this current DNC, prepared to take a more firm stance on this issue, Israel and Palestine?
Listen, you're right. We're not going to relitigate the 2024 election, but I will say one of the things that Kamala Harris said throughout that campaign, that she wasn't going to be silent about the pain and suffering that all of us have witnessed in Gaza. And before the president and vice president left, they negotiated a ceasefire that is bringing hostages home every single day, and a ceasefire that I hope means a continued relief of the pain, the starvation, the destruction that we've seen. And this is a party that understands that we have to listen to everybody. This is a party that's not going to allow safe harbor for anybody who wants to engage in hate, be that anti-Semitism, be that Islamophobia, be that these folks who want to pick on people for who they are and how they identify. This is a party that cares about working people and working families. I didn't want to, Eamon, come on the show and tell my husband what I got him for Valentine's Day, but I decided him to get something expensive. I got him a dozen eggs because that's one of the most expensive things you can get right now. So I hope, baby, you don't cook all of them at once. That's what we need to be focused on.